here's what we're going to talk about. And like I said, it's what you voted for. You voted for this as the number one thing that you struggle with. The majority of you voted for this. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. If you struggle with staying laser focused on your goal until you achieve it, if you suffer from shiny object syndrome, and you often get off track and you have to begin again, is that you? Let me know in the comments. Do you resonate with that? Then if that's you, every single topic we or live that we do this week is going to help you break that habit. Because here's the truth, it's just a habit, and every single habit can be reshaped, redirected, and turned into a new habit. In my Get Set method, one of the things I teach is mindset math, and it's as simple, doesn't mean that it's easy, it takes consistent practice, but it truly is as simple as subtracting an old belief and replacing it with a new one, right? Subtracting an old belief, adding in a new belief, and that's going to give you your new mindset. And in this case, your new mindset around achieving goals, staying focused. Because here's the truth, if you resonate with shiny object syndrome, of not going all the way, of not finishing what you start, then you've got a story in your head that you've convinced yourself that that's you, right? You identify as not being a finisher. And whatever we identify with, we prove, right? We collect evidence for it and we start to create that pattern over and over again. So the habits that you create on a daily basis are going to help you to also create a different story for yourself. I was just coaching someone on this topic, and somebody who struggles with starting and not going all the way, or when she gets bored or it gets difficult, she'll switch to something else. If you do that, like if you're somebody who often like switches to the next thing, like I'm not passionate about that anymore, or yeah, this isn't working for me, or oh my god, like this is really great, right? So I'm going to sign up for this, or I'm going to study this, I'm going to what you're doing is you're creating a false sense of accomplishment in yourself. You see how that happens? You're creating a false sense of like, oh, I'm actually doing something because I started something new. But the truth is you haven't actually finished the other thing that you started. And so what happens is you get overwhelmed. This is why most people get overwhelmed and burned out, not because they're actually hitting their goals and staying focused, and staying committed. It's because they keep getting off track and having to start again. That is frustrating. That is overwhelming. That's where overwhelm comes from. So in my conversation with this particular person, what I spoke to her about was creating a smaller goal that she can achieve on a weekly, even a daily basis, so she can start to reprogram her mind to believe that she actually does finish. Because what was happening with this particular person, and if you've done this, let me know, what was happening with this particular person is she got so excited about what she wanted to do that she set, her goals were really big. And what happens is when you set your goal so big and you don't have a track record of actually going all the way, I'm not talking about the bigger vision, right? Because you've got to have a big vision. We talked about that in the previous weeks. If you missed those, please go back and watch them by clicking the video tab. But if you set your goal so big and you don't have a track record of hitting it, what happens is, a few days in, a few weeks in, even a couple months in, you're still that far away from your goal. And so then you get yourself into this belief that it's too far off. You start to get overwhelmed. You start to tell yourself a story of it not being able to happen, and then you quit. The problem with quitting is every time that you do that, you've trained your mind to go to that place. You've trained your mind to quit. You've strengthened the quitting muscle. And what we want to do is we want to strengthen the going all the way muscle. So I just came back from the zone event. I want to share this with you. The zone event is put on by my business coach. This is my second year with her. She has a success panel that she puts on the stage on the second day of her event. She brings up her clients who've had success in her program. Now, last year, which was my first year in the program, I was on the success panel. I was on the success panel again this year. Now, this is not a new thing for me. I was in a coaching community years ago with my first business coach when I owned my fitness center. That same year, very first year, I was also on that success panel, Sean Greeley. Now, why do I share this with you? Not to brag, but to show you what habits I've created that actually have me get the result and actually rise to the top in these different coaching programs and things that I take on. Because the truth of the matter is, there's hundreds of people in these programs, hundreds, just like there was in NPE in Sean's program, and just like there is in Shanda's. Well, why are there only like a half a dozen of us on these success panels? Like, let that sink in. It doesn't mean that other people didn't have success, right? But out of hundreds of people, there's typically still only a small percentage of people who actually succeed with whatever the program is, whatever the coaching is. Let that sink in. That is consistent across the board in all coaching programs, in all anything. Like, think about the number of people that go to a gym, right, and work out with a trainer. Sean, if you're still on here, you'll see this in your own life, right, with your own clients. But what percentage of those people actually rise to the top and actually get the result that you really intend for them and that they've intended for themselves? How many people sign up for the gym and don't even go? So the reason I'm pointing this out is because there is a trend, there is a habit, there is a certain way that people who succeed and go all the way on with their goals, there's a way that they think, there is a way that they've trained themselves to be, because it's about how you be, how you show up in your life. And they've trained themselves that way across the board, right? So it's not that I came and got success in Shanda's program because other programs failed. No, it's not about that. Because anything that I sign up for, I go in already knowing I'm going to succeed at it. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter what the program is, right? I take full personal responsibility for the result that I'm going to get. So ask yourself this: when you sign up for, like, with a coach, or for a coaching program, or for, you start a diet, or you sign up with a trainer, like, do you actually put all the responsibility on them to get you the result? Or do you go in knowing I'm committed to creating the result? And then whatever that takes of me, I will do. So the one thing I want to land with you here is that achieving your goals, going all the way, number one starts with you taking personal responsibility for the result that you're going to get. That's one of the main staples of a high performer. That's one of the main staples of a successful person, right? Is taking personal responsibility, full ownership for the result that you intend to create. And then here's the thing: if you take personal responsibility for what you say you are going to do, the second thing you've got to have is you've got to honor your word. You've got to honor your word to yourself and to whomever you give your word to, because really that's all we have at the end of the day, right? Like, how do we live up to our own word? So one of the things that really works is, after you've taken personal responsibility and you've declared that I'm going to get this result, right? You take personal responsibility for it, is then you declare it publicly. You declare it publicly. How often have you had a goal or a vision or a dream, but you've kept it to yourself, right? Have you ever done that? If you have, typically it's because you don't want to be held accountable for actually doing it. And so you've got a back door. You've got a back door. If you don't share it with anyone, then nobody has to hold you to it, right? So I like to declare, this is what I'm going to achieve. This is what I'm going to achieve. And I tell people. Now, once I've said it, once I've put it out there, I've got to honor my word, because that's who I am. That's who I am. So I've already trained my mind by saying that, okay, I'm going to go pro in bodybuilding, and I'm going to go until I turn pro. Once I've made that declaration, and most of you know this happened to me this year, and I set that goal last December. Once I've declared that, I have already trained my mind to know that it will happen. You get that? There's no doubt. So I'm starting with, so this week, the way I want to start this off, and every day this week, I'm going to give you really practical things that you can do. So I want you to show up with your notebook, you really be focused, take notes, and when the conversation is over, take like 5 minutes to journal what came up for you, because I'm going to really I'm going to just really tell you what works. I've been doing this long enough. I've coached hundreds of people. I've been, in plenty of coaching programs, as a client, in athletics, in business, in relationship stuff, in personal development. I know what works. So, but what I want to land for you right now today is that it does start here. It starts here. You get to train your mind to know that it will happen. And once you have no doubt in the way, then you can do the practical things on a daily basis that will help move you towards that goal. Does that make sense? That will help move you towards that goal. So, personal responsibility, public declaration. Personal responsibility, public declaration. What is landing for you about this piece? I want to look really quickly and respond to anything that you've shared in the comments. Yes, true. Yes, my Friday appointment said yes. Oh, congratulations, Catherine. Catherine's basically saying that she just got a client. Catherine is a new client of mine, and we just had some coaching on how she got to show up in this call, and she just created a new client. Awesome. So is this landing for you guys? Is this landing? The fact that in order to actually stay focused on your goal until you achieve it, you've got to declare that it's going to happen, and you've got to keep your word. You've got to keep your word to yourself and then to whomever you have shared that goal with. And many of you come to follow me here because you are entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, or you want to do something big in the world. You want to make a difference for people, right? Listen, your word is everything. You cannot train people to expect you to quit on your word. You cannot do that if you expect to make a big difference for people and expect to make an impact on their life, right? So that's super important. So and we're going to go through very specifics every day this week, but once I've taken responsibility for the fact that I'm going to create the result, then I build the ways that I can do that. I build that around me, right? So that looks like team. I always say, who's your team? Who is on your team? It doesn't just mean like in business, right? Yes, if you're in business, you definitely need team. And the more that you grow, the bigger your team will be. But in your personal life, you need team as well. So for instance, when I set my goal to turn pro in the sport of bodybuilding, I had to then take responsibility for making that happen. And that doesn't mean trying to do it all myself. That's not taking personal responsibility. That's being stubborn, right? That's being cocky, know-it-all. That's also being fearful, right? That like if you ask for support, you're weak. It's also being, lone wolf tendency. If you're a high performer and you're driven, at some point you really had that lone wolf tendency, and it only works for you, and it only worked for me until a certain point. And when you're ready to go to the next level, you know that you've got to look out and pull people in to support you. So when I set that goal, I then built my team. Great, I've got to get my coach, right? For my nutrition and training coach. I've got to go over here and get my posing coach. I've got to enroll my husband in the fact that I'm going to need extra support at home during a certain amount of months because I'm going to be dedicating this much time, right? I start making sure that my schedule, my business schedule with my clients and with my team fits into my personal goal. Here's the truth. My personal goals always come first. They always come first. So whatever I set my personal goals as, I then fit my business and even my family into it. And that's a decision that I make for me because I operate best when I'm able to achieve the things that I really want, right? When I'm able to pursue my passions, that's when I'm a better wife. That's when I'm a better mom. That's when I'm a better employee, or employer. That's when I'm a better team member, right? That's when I'm a better client for my coaches. I pride myself on being a great client, meaning I take the coaching, I show up, I keep my word, I ask important questions, I'm vulnerable, right? Like the point is, all of this boils down to you being personally responsible. You got to show up. You got to show up for your life. So take responsibility for the fact that you'll get the result, then build your team around you, whether it's coaches, whether it's support in your house, right? Hiring a cleaning person, right? Like that's something that can totally support you time-wise so that you're not using your time on things like having to constantly clean the house when perhaps you're in the startup stages of your business or in the growth period of your business, or you need that time to get to the gym. Is this making sense for you guys? So take responsibility for the fact that you'll get the result. Be responsible in the sense that you then build up the support around you to make it happen, and declare it. Declare it. Once you declare it, you cannot go back on your word. And if you operate from a place of, once I give my word to this goal and to this vision, then I know it's going to happen. And the reason I know it's going to happen is, number one, you're setting your goals based on your bigger vision, right? So go back and look at those videos. And then number two, you know that you're going to keep your word. And so whatever you need to do to get there, it's going to happen. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to break it down into very specific ways, right? So like you're thinking, okay, Jessica, I get it. Like be responsible, build the team, but then what? Like I've done that before. I've hired coaches, I've declared that I'm going to make it happen. And then I get off track, right? And then I don't go all the way, or then self-doubt comes in. So I know in your head you're thinking, okay, got this part, but how do I stay on for the long run? How do I have the longevity? That's what we're going to talk about for the rest of this week. And like I said, show up with your notebook because we're going to get really specific into this. I hope this supported you guys. Awesome. Yes. Perfect. Great. 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 It's landing. Awesome. Okay, great. I will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Pacific time. And I want to show you my mug. Who needs sleep? I actually need sleep. But guess what? Last night I was so inspired creatively with something that I actually was in a zone. Has this ever happened to you? For a couple of hours, and I worked until 11 o'clock. I didn't start working until 9 after my daughter was in bed and everything, and I was ready. I started working at 8:30. I was ready to read a book and everything. And all of a sudden I got this divine inspiration and I acted on it. And I'll share that with you, what that is later on. But that's it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Can't wait to see you. By the way, I booked up all of Wednesday and into early next month for VIP days and vivid vision sessions. I know a couple of you, Rosemary, I think you're on here, messaged me about that. So if you want to get a spot with me in October, you need to book now because I am filling up super quickly. So I'll drop the link in the comments and you can grab a spot on there if you want to have a conversation with me so that we can really fast track you to the result that you want to create. I'll see you tomorrow morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye, bye, bye. Oh,